Super Mario Bros. Wonder has so many unique ideas, none arguably more interesting than the Wonder Flower completely changing up different levels as you play. With Mario Kart 8 Deluxe seemingly over, a new Mario Kart game is certainly on the horizon. The idea of the Wonder Flower is super interesting in a Mario Kart setting. So in this video, I'm briefly going to explain how it would work and then give you many examples. For an example, my friend Jordan tweeted out these two pictures of Grumble Volcano and then Icy Grumble Volcano as a response to Lonely Goomba's tweet just simply stating Mario Kart Wonder. There are so many unique ideas like this, so let's just jump in. This would be what happened if we gave Mario Kart the Wonder Flower. So first, how would it work? The way I see the Wonder Flower working is that it's not an item you can get from the item roulette wheel. It's way too powerful. Instead, whenever you start the final lap of a course, you will see the Wonder Flower moving across the finish line. Anyone can get the flower. Obviously, whoever's in first will have the first chance, as it only appears when you're entering the final lap, but first might choose to ignore it because some courses could have Wonder effects that are harder. If first just wants to keep front running, they could avoid the Wonder Flower, keep the track easier, and then someone else later on has to pick it up, changing everything. It's got an interesting risk versus reward mechanic, and now let's get into the Wonder effects I think we could see. I'm just going to be using Mario Kart 8 tracks for this video, starting off with Mario Kart 8's Rainbow Road. Getting the Wonder Flower as you enter the final lap here could cause a meteor attack on the Rainbow Road space station. Meteors could start falling all over and even breaking parts of the track, presenting a lot of holes in the road, which could hopefully make this version of Rainbow Road a lot harder. Next we have Thwomp Ruins. Thwomp Ruins would turn to nighttime and the thwomps would start moving super fast. There could even be more thwomps added in, again making this track a whole lot harder. Sweet Sweet Canyon is one of the most sugary tracks in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, so hitting the Wonder Flower could spawn in a bunch of ant trooper enemies. These march in a line, creating kind of moving gates that you have to go through or else you run into them and spin out. They could appear everywhere, just marching right along, or some of them could even be stationary as obstacles. Next up we have Mount Wario. I love this one. Mount Wario is a perfect example to show how the Wonder Flower could be used to balance things perfectly in this game. What if when you get the Wonder Flower, Wario's mountain gets hit by a massive snowstorm? This blizzard would severely impact visibility. You wouldn't be able to see nearly as well as you can, but Mount Wario's final lap is pretty easy. You go off a ski slalom and then through a giant glide ramp. Adding a restriction like lower visibility on the final lap would actually make it a lot more balanced. That was the fourth track out of 20 different examples I have for this video, and make sure to stay tuned because they get a lot crazier. These examples have 10 tracks that are just Nitro Mario Kart 8 tracks, and 10 retro tracks. I didn't touch any of the Booster Course Pass here though, so if you want to see that video, let me know down in the comments below. Hit the subscribe button while you're there if you want to help us reach our goal of 200,000 subscribers before the end of the year. It would mean so much. And now let's jump into the fifth track, that being Dolphin Shoals. I think as soon as you get the Wonder Flower and enter the third lap, the water should be infested by eels. We already see a giant one later on in the lap, so what if there are a ton of different eels in the water as obstacles, and the big eel completely goes crazy, causing an avalanche that blocks the current path you're supposed to go through, but opens up a brand new one to the left. Then suddenly the third lap switches up and you have this giant section as you're driving through an underwater mountain, trying to get all the way to the top, then you glide over towards the finish line. Imagine that, you get an entirely different third lap if someone hits the Wonder Flower. It changes up the gameplay so much. Next we have Cloud Top Cruise. And we're already taking the whole Wonder effect from Mario Bros. Wonder. What if we take an enemy as well? That's right, I think the Condarts should make an appearance. These lunge down and try and hit you as soon as you walk under them or get close to them, and they're used expertly in Wonder. Seeing them flying around above the clouds here on Cloud Top Cruise would make complete sense. They stick right into the beanstalk as you're driving by, and some of them can be floating above you, so you can see where they're gonna land before they swoop down, and it's not like instant reaction time. Next we have Twisted Mansion. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe does not have any sort of fake item box, and I want that thing to return here. Not like we saw in Wii. No one is ever mistaking this for a fake item box. Make them look like actual item boxes, and when the Wonder Flower gets pressed, all the boos start dropping fake item boxes onto the course. Some of these could have a boo that just flies away, not even hurting the player. Some of them could maybe throw out a banana in front of them, or some of them could maybe even throw out a mushroom. It's a risk versus reward mechanic, which is again what I love about in Mario Kart. Do I bother hitting this fake item box? Well, yeah, I have a blue shell coming towards me, so I might as well hit it, see if I can get a mushroom, and then ground dodge. Number 8, this one is probably, it's one of my favorites in this whole video. There are levels in Mario Bros. Wonder where your entire perspective changes and Mario starts walking on the back wall. What if in Excite Bike Arena, because this is really the only course it could ever work on, the camera changes once you enter the 3rd lap and you get the normal Excite Bike view? What if you're watching the races play out from the side here? It could pan along as you go. You'd get to see races happening either in the foreground or background as well. And if it were to ever work, it would be on this one. The course is already pretty generic and like basic. You just kind of shake all the time and then make one turn. So I don't think it would be too absurd to switch the camera angle here. I don't know. Let me know if you think this would work. I love this idea. Next up, we have Ice Outpost. You can actually see pieces of ice falling off this giant iceberg during the race. So what if somehow pieces of ice fall onto the track itself? There could be banks of snow that you have to mushroom through or else they'd slow you down, icebergs that function as an obstacle, or some of them could even have ramps allowing you to access new paths or boosting you along. The track is called Ice Outpost, but there's really only like 2 little shortcuts that have you actually drive on ice. The rest of it is all on these yellow and green paths. The Wonder effect here would totally rectify the odd naming convention for this track. And then for number 10, the last of the Nitros, Hyrule Castle. What if Ganon takes it over? Just like we see in Breath of the Wild, the castle could be entirely infected with malice. With Ganon swirling around as you try and glide in, malice goop on the ground, slowing you down if you drive in it. It could even be a blood moon, so enemies like bokoblins and hell, even a stone talus throwing rocks at you get spawned in. Hyrule Castle is a great track, but as the only Zelda representation, there's pretty much no enemies here. There are the Zelda piranha plants that I'm blanking on the name of, but that's it. Put in a ton of different enemies. First Nitro track, I already showed you guys this one, but Grumble Volcano. I can't show it better than this picture tweeted out by Jordan. The entire vibe changes. It just gets super snowy. All of the lava holes get filled in, potentially even adding boost ramps or new shortcut paths. I mean, you go from driving around a fiery cave to an ice cave. Like, that's just so cool. The entire course gets slippery. This one would be absolutely perfect. It looks like it's made for this concept. For number 2, Baby Park. Okay, imagine this. This is the overhead view of Baby Park, and then as soon as someone grabs the Wonder effect, this happens. Seriously, I'm not joking. What if the finish line just started moving? It would be pretty slow, obviously, so you could catch up to it and it wasn't a never-ending race. It would add even more tension to the 7th lap of Baby Park, because not only are you trying to outrun a million items because it's Baby Park, but you're also trying to catch up to the finish line. I don't know, man. I hate Baby Park personally. I think it's an unfair track, so I kind of gave it an unfair Wonder effect, but I think it kind of works out. It could be neat. On Moo Moo Meadows, what if there is a cow stampede? Yep, the cattle are fed up with constantly being mushroomed through. They go on an absolute stampede, and maybe this could work kind of like a bull rush level. You know, the Wonder effects in Mario Wonder that let you ride on top of the bulls? Maybe it could work like that. They open up a new path, you're riding on the back of the cattle, they go maybe through a barn, all the way around, and then spit you out towards the finish line. Toad's Turnpike should really just switch the traffic around. All the cars do a U-turn, or maybe a 3-point turn. That would be impossible to avoid. And they start just turning around and facing you. You should be going up against oncoming traffic in this game. I think you could in the N64 when you switched it to mirror mode. Not here though. Going against oncoming traffic, and maybe they even speed up. This would be menacing. On TikTok Clock, this one's too perfect. Time could slow down and speed up in various intervals. There's a level like this in Wonder, and one where the entire thing just goes slow-mo and speeds up. This could be awesome. It could allow you to pull off precise green shell snipes when it's in slow-mo, and then when it's going super fast, you have to brake drift around all the corners. It makes sense for TikTok Clock too. On Dry Desert, I just want a sandstorm. This would obviously lower visibility, but it would also bring in tornadoes. These tornadoes could be throwing items, picking them up from the ground and spewing them out to random spots on the track. The oasis at the end of every lap would probably be dried up, and obviously, as I said, visibility would be greatly affected. Royal Raceway, this one is any Mario fan's dream. What if you get the Wonder effect, it turns to sunset, and boom, as you're finishing off the lap, there's an entire new path that's required where you drive into Peach's Castle. Yeah, in Super Mario 64, you could drive around Peach's Castle. They completely blocked it off here, but what if they rectified their past mistakes and allowed us to not only drive up to the courtyard, maybe do a lap around Peach's Castle, but then enter it and drive up maybe the stairs or a ramp and then glide off towards the sunset, towards the finish line. I think you could go through Peach's Castle in Mario Circuit for the 3DS, so it's definitely something they're willing to do. It's not like some random rule Nintendo set up where it's like, no, they can't drive in Peach's Castle. It would make for a great conclusion. GBA Mario Circuit, first of all, I think the Ultra Hand holding up the entire anti-gravity anti-grav portion could maybe give way or something. It would still be anti-grav, but now that ramp that goes up goes really down. Also, all those blocks lining the course, I think they should just start falling from the sky. Some of them could maybe fall even with boost ramps on them, so you have to boost off of them, allowing you to cut corners or something. But most of them would just be added obstacles that you can't run into, or else you hit off a block and lose all your momentum and probably lose the race. Some of the best wonder effects in Super Mario Bros. Wonder are the music ones. Like in the second level, when all the piranha plants start going on parade and singing, what if Music Park had something similar to that? The track starts moving even more with the music, maybe waving to the beat, new paths open up, blocks fall to the beat of the music, boost pads are only activated on beat, like stuff like that could be really interesting. They'd have to make a bunch of visual indications because not everyone plays with the volume up. I know I certainly don't when I have friends over. We are either listening to music or just yelling too loud to hear it. But Nintendo's always been good about adding visual indicators for audio-only events. For example, the beat blocks in Super Mario 3D World flashing before they disappear or appear. Number 10, we have Neo Bowser City. I think the rain starts going down more, making the course even more slippery, but tons of boost panels open up, like everywhere. Again, this right here is risk versus reward. If you hit it, you can technically complete a lap a lot faster, but it'll be a lot more difficult. First place might not want to hit it for fear of falling off, but if you're in second, third, or fourth and you gotta catch up to first, it's the gambler's mentality, but I sure know I'm hitting that. I think I can do it, right? That's the beauty of it. I seriously think this Wonder Effect idea is so cool. I love when Mario Kart tracks change per lap. I mean, Grumble Volcano has come up multiple times in this. Rosalina's Ice World even. It's harder to get on top of the ice on the second and third lap. You need a mushroom. I think this concept is super cool. So let me know down in the comments if you agree. Again, hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed this video. It would mean a lot if we could hit 200K soon. I'm Thomas from the Switched Up, signing off. Peace.